Hello, everybody. How are you? My name is Penda James, and what you are watching or listening to is the Resilience Project. This is an opportunity for me to have some significant and important conversations with people that I care about. So I want to introduce my friends to my friends. See that heart? So that we can all do great work in the kingdom. Professionally, I am a scribe coach, so I help people get unstuck, execute their goals, and inscribe their legacy. But what really matters is that I'm a leader who at some point in my ministry lost my voice. And I need my friends and my family, people that I care about, to remind me of who God said that I already am. Today is May 11th, and I was reminded by one of my dear friends that this is the 25th anniversary of when I graduated from Wilberforce University. Ooh. It is so befitting that I didn't realize I'm gonna get emotional already, but it is so befitting that I introduce you to one of the first people that I met when I stepped on campus, one of the first leaders that I was acquainted with, who was with me through some of the most challenging transitions in my young adult life, who prayed for me, who walked with me. I remember walking from Wilberforce to Xenia for Martin Luther King's Day and like stumbling, and Ron George was right there and caught me. I could tell you stories upon stories of praying for weather to break, praying for people to be delivered, praying in the union for Alpha Omega. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. I just need you to know that Ron George is a dad. You know, he's a husband, he's a minister. He cares so much about people. And his declaration, Family Matters, really is so apropos, because family doesn't, to me or to him, just mean blood. It means people that he cares about. And so with all of that said, I want to introduce you to Ronald A. George. He's from Cleveland, Ohio. Is there anything else that you want to say, Ron, to the people?
Well, no one ever calls me by my full name. So that's the first thing I want to put out there. But it's okay if it's coming from you, Penda. Absolutely. It sounds good coming from you. I'm just looking forward to this opportunity. I've been waiting for it. I'm really excited, trying to contain myself because I'm having flashbacks of when we first met. And I just trust and believe that this is going to be a great time that we're going to spend together this evening.
Thank you for taking away from family time to spend time with your little sister. I won't keep you long, I promise. So I'm just going to say to all of you who are leaders, I need you really to sit with this conversation. This is going to be a conversation between a big brother and a little sister about family. And I need you to have your journals, because Ron is going to share a lot of nuggets of wisdom. He always does. Sometimes I leave his presence with my mind spinning of things I need to do or think about, or how I need to pray. So right now, just go get your pen and your journal. We're waiting. Okay, Ron, you ready for your first question?
Let's go.
How do you define this phrase, family matters?
It's a great question. When you think of family, oftentimes you think of a nuclear family, or you think about the particular individuals in your family, or the image that has been given to you over time. And that may be the mother, the father, the siblings, all being collective in one spot, being together. I actually define family matters a little bit different than that. I define family matters as a position that individuals are in, they find themselves in, and what's built around them is their family. So it's not necessarily the family that they were born into, but it's the family, the folks that are around them that makes them who they are or helps them to become the person that God created them to be.
So how has this term family matters been a thread throughout your life?
Well, I mean, I can start it off right now by saying May 11th is a very unique day. Not only did you graduate from the Wilberforce University 25 years ago, but on this day, my father would have been 75 years old. And my dad passed away 4 years ago, and I did his eulogy. And I wouldn't have never thought that I would have been doing my father's eulogy. Nonetheless, I wouldn't have never thought I would have been a minister, being able to do that. But today is a very unique day because of the fact it's a time for me, it has been a time for me to reflect on the lessons that I learned from him. Although my father, even though my father, he did not technically raise me, I wasn't in the same household with him. He was always there to give me encouragement. He was always there to answer my grandmother's clarion call when I wasn't focusing in school. And he was there to just be that voice of reason. And for that reason, I can look at today as being a significant day because family matters has been a thread in my life when I look at the different individuals that are in my life. And so I can say pieces of a dream. Pieces of a dream, I've always wanted my mom to be with me. I always wanted my dad to be with me. I wanted those two to be together. I didn't necessarily just want it to be with my grandmother, although I love my grandmother, bits and pieces, no matter what. But it was just that image that I had in my head, from a child, just wanting to be with my parents. So technically, over time, I learned that I really had the wrong concept in my mind. Because when we look at ourselves as a people, we look at ourselves as a race of folks that have actually been stolen from a land that is called our motherland, stripped of everything of who we are, the essence of who we are. And then we're made to fit into a place that is not our own.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, we find ourselves in a constant struggle all the time. And so, struggle has always been the common thread in my life as it relates to family. Struggle from day one, that I can remember. Just remembering the stories of what took place when my mother had me, to the point where in which my grandmother brought me into the home and decided to raise me all throughout the time where in which I didn't understand what was going on. But because of the fact that God positioned me in such a way with the people that I needed to have around me, it actually has been a thing that has been my driver in my life that has actually helped me to move forward. And I had to get to a point where I had to accept that. It wasn't it wasn't until I got into my 20s that I accepted that. It wasn't until I returned to this place called Wilberforce University after not doing well my first time around that's when it all started. It's at that time when I met you.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember the day that we met, and I remember that meeting you. You talked about your grandmother and you talked about your sister. So family was always one of the first things that you mentioned when you talked to anybody.
Mhm.
So what would you say to a leader who doesn't necessarily understand why family help me, Lord. What would you say to a leader who's broken by family? Let's go there. Let's say it that way.
Mm. What would I say to a leader who's broken by family? Hmm. I would say, I would ask the question, um, why would you say that you're broken by family? What is their why? Because everyone's why is a little bit different than the next person, but all of us have a reason why.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders alike. Whether an individual embraces it or not, or accepts it, that's a different story within itself.
So in leadership, sometimes people lead from a place of brokenness
Mhm.
because they're trying to fill a void or a gap. And so some leaders may be leading groups of people and trying to be their brother or their sister or their mom or dad because those relationships may be missing or splintered.
Mhm.
So now with that background, what would you say to that leader?
You can't go against the gospel. Um, we're all sinners saved by grace. Every last single one of us.
Yes.
So what we experience is a result of sin and our sin, and the sin that had came before us, the sin that we was born into. And so it depends on if individual wants to really go in to address that or not.
Hmm.
And that's always the starting point. And the downfall to leadership, when it comes down to brokenness, um, a lot of times, a lot of them are hurting themselves, or a lot of them have actually neglected to deal with that part of themselves. And now you have other people that are actually feeling the impact of what they chose not to deal with or choose not to deal with. And then in anyone's mind, you just don't gather that because it's like an oxymoron. It's just like you're getting something good. You're getting it from the one that is good, your pastor. He's
Yeah.
giving you, or he or she is giving you the good word. But at the same time, inside of himself, there's no transparency on the outside of what's going on inside of them. And if there's no transparency, you have to ask the question, is God really at work in and through that individual?
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I want you to, you've kind of talked about it a little bit, a bounce back situation in your life that you've had in relation to family matters. Do you have another example of when you've had to be resilient with family matters?
To be resilient. Hmm. Man, oh man, I'm trying to pick one that was um, a really good one. Well, once again, I'll just go back to my father. I'll use that for an example. I came to my father at a time when I needed him most.
Okay.
And that was in my teenage years, 17, 18 years old. There was a conflict that had taken place with um, my stepfather. My stepfather and I, we got into a fight. And so therefore I needed my father to be there for me. And
Okay.
so I, went to my dad and shared with him, what had taken place. And so my dad, being as cool as, he was and still is to me in my heart, in my mind, he said, "Well, come on, let me just take you up under my arm, and I'm going to actually help you out this way. I'm going to show you what to do so that you will be able to take care of yourself." And that's where it really started to begin, where I started to get a sense of what it meant to be a man. because I sure enough didn't know at that time. I did not. But it was at that point where in which the issues that I was dealing with, came face to face with where I needed to go and where my father said at this moment, he said, I'm going to show you what I know how to do. And hopefully you're paying attention so that you can actually start doing this too. And so I don't know if that actually answers your question,
It does. It
but
does.
that's a point that I like to to point out. The funny side of it is, and real funny, he bought me my first car,
Okay.
and he taught me how to change the motor oil. He taught me how to change the tires. He taught me how to clean it. He taught me how to do that. And he taught me for the very reason to say that, I bought you one car, the next car is on you.
Okay.
Then the next thing, he took me into his home. He allowed me to eat his food, to use his water, free of charge.
Yeah.
The moment when I turned 18, he gave me my first bill, and
Okay.
and I had to pay him rent. And so I didn't think that was a good thing to do. This is my dad. He's supposed to provide for me anyway. But at the same time, I was in conflict with what was right and what was wrong. But he gave me a great example of what it meant to be a man. And so that's another nugget that I actually can actually look at and say, family matters right here, because it's at those moments when you get something, and when you get it, it's just like a light clicks. And it could be from a biological parent, it could be from somebody that's outside of the family. It's whatever way God actually designed it, whatever way God actually provides it. And to me, that is actually all inclusive, and it actually incorporates this concept or this ministry that I have called Family Matters.
Can you speak your father's name for us?
Yes, his name is Larry George.
So there's an African proverb, and I'm going to paraphrase it. It says, "No man is deceased as long as there's someone alive to call his name." And so I wanted to give honor to Larry George on his birthday, your
Thank you.
father, who made you into the man that you are today. And I wanted to honor him for that, Larry George.
Thank you.
What do you want people to know about Family Matters, Ron George?
Well, I want people to know about Family Matters is to um, be who you are, be true to yourself. Um, do not try to be a people pleaser. Just accept who you are and the life that you live. A lot of times we live up to other people's expectations, and living up to people's other expectations, it never does any of us any good. And so, specifically for myself, I know it didn't, because I was just in a denial about a lot of different things that was really going on inside of myself. And so, it's imperative for us to really take those concepts in mind. We have to do away with those things that are youthful things, and actually not be afraid to face up to the challenges and the responsibilities that are before us. The word of God lets us know in 1 Corinthians 13, it says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child,
Yeah.
thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put aside childish things. And so when we reach that point, that means we're in a position where in which God can utilize us.
Yeah.
And when we're in that position, where in which God can utilize us, everything that we had dreamt of, that was a dream of ours, it actually begins to manifest. Why? Because God, He's into restoration, right? And because God is into restoration, that means no matter where you are in your area of brokenness, at the very moment you decide to lift up your head and you say, I'm going to trust and I'm going to believe in the Lord, even though I don't understand all of this. But because of the fact that I accept Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior, I've already opened up the door of my heart so that He can come in and restore every part of me, mind, body, and spirit. And it just actually helps to give um, this peace, this comfort, in spite of the bad decisions that you made, uh, in spite of the mistakes that you made. And He actually has a way with actually moving us forward. And so for myself, that has been the case. Married 22 years. Who would have knew I would have been a good dad, or a good husband,
Yeah.
My wife still loves me. That's what she says. She hasn't kicked me out yet, so that's a good
She
thing.
won't. She won't.
And my son,
Your sons look to you as an example.
and they look to me as an example, and I'm learning something from them as well. So
Yeah.
it's really reciprocal at the same point.
I love it. I just want to end with 3 things that I always will remember about you. um,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
one of
Uh-oh.
them is blueberries.
I knew that was one.
um, Blueberries, because you're allergic to blueberries, but you ate some and we laughed for like a whole hour after a revival one time. And so anytime I have blueberries, which is one of my favorite fruits, I laugh until I cry, just like we did that night. I also think about Pancho,
Oh,
which
Lord.
was your
Oh.
puppy. But I had a picture on my wall, and you just started like, I had a dog named Pancho, but you were laughing and crying at the same time, and it just showed like how much you love Pancho. And he was gone, but you hadn't thought about him in a while. And so anytime I think about Pancho, I think about that. And I also think about this one particular day when you climbed up the wall and realized how high it was.
And I can't get back down.
And you could not get back down the wall. And I wanted to share those memories with you. I mean, they do make me laugh. They are fond memories of our time at Wilberforce. But more importantly, what it shows me is that in every aspect of your life, you give 110%. And so I just want you to know that the impact that you've had on my life and so many lives of the people that you're touching, where you are down there in Florida and where you were in Cleveland and everywhere, Columbus, just everywhere you've been, you've touched people's lives with your ministry. And so as you step out into this new season of your ministry, we stand with you. And we trust that Family Matters is going to be restoring families all over. So just keep your head up, Brother Ron George.
Amen.
And thank you for sharing your testimony of resilience with us today. Anything else you want to say before we go?
Well, I have to say thank you for this opportunity. It's right on time. How perfect that it would be on my father's birthday. How perfect. I can just see him smiling down on me, just being proud of me. And I'm just determined to actually help many more Ron Georges out there.
Yeah.
There's some other guys that are out there that are going through the same thing that I went through. A whole bunch of other young men too, and a lot of young families out there that need some encouragement and some support. And so it's my desire to actually be able to speak into their lives, to be here to actually help couples deal with each other, to help young men, young kids to deal with life, to cope with life, and not to feel pressured or stressed by the world to the point where in which they want to um, commit suicide, things of that sort. So there's much work to be done,
Yeah.
and family matters, and we can't do it alone. I can't do it alone, but with yourself, other folks that we are affiliated with, um, churches, whatever the case may be, men and women of God, collectively, us standing together and moving forward to make a difference. We stand on the shoulders of so many different leaders that have gone before us. And by us doing the same, we just continue to do what we were called to do, and that's to make a difference in this world.
Do you have a blog, or do you do Facebook Live? You have an Instagram page? I mean, I know you don't really like social media, but with this ministry, how can people connect with you if they want to sow into your ministry, their time, their resources, or talent? How can they connect with you?
Well, connecting with me is not a hard thing to do because we're going to have something going on Facebook. This is just another step moving us into that direction. But right now, I am with Men of Joy Ministries, and Men of Joy Ministries is a ministry specifically for men, men of joy. When you look at the word men, the N is backwards. And the reason why the N is backwards is because all of us are imperfect. You know, not one of us are perfect. But we have men that are on this virtual call every single day, 2 times a day. Men actually just pouring out their hearts to the Lord. Men, it doesn't matter how old you are, but we have 40 to 50 men that are on the call. You have guys that have been locked up that are on the call. You have guys that are in corporate world that lost their positions and they're on the call. You have people that deal with certain issues, and this is an environment where in which men can come and be transparent and feel comfortable about it. Something that we really don't get in the church, but outside of the church is exactly what the church always preaches that we need to do to take the next step. So Men of Joy Ministries, led by our pastor, Pastor Richard Dent III, we are on Facebook, and you can look us up at www.menofjoy.net. And if you want to connect with us, you can actually communicate with us that way and let them know that Ron George actually referred you. If you want to actually get in touch with me, just simply just text me. And so that we can start to initiate this. So if you have issues or concerns that you want to address, you just give me a call. You can call me directly at 614-420-6999. Text me, let me know that you actually saw this video. And if you want to actually take the next step and actually allowing God to speak to you, I say, I invite you to become a part of Men of Joy.
Thank you, Ron George. And thank you all for watching. We love you so much. Have an awesome day.
Thank you, Penda. Love you.
Love you more.